today we're gonna work on reading a text today. And so what I need is, Geraldine, can you turn around and read us today what we're gonna be doing?
Right here?
Yes.
Okay, so student will be able to analyze dialogue in a story and summarize the text in your own words.
Okay, and then so we're gonna be reading The Case of the Missing Diamond. We're gonna take notes in a graphic organizer. You're gonna have a choice of a task, which are both you're gonna be summarizing, but one task is going to be a comic strip, or a second task could be just writing a summary, and then we're gonna do an exit slip. Are there any questions before we begin? No questions? All right, so I'm gonna give you your little packet. Okay, so we're gonna closely read The Case of the Missing Diamond. And so what I want you to do is, I'm going to read it the first time. I'm going to wait till you stop. Just write your name, and then you just look at me, because I know you're ready. Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, Sal. Thank you, Elias. Okay, so the first time I'm going to read it, and what basically, all I want you to do is write a gist. One sentence or two sentences of what you think the story is about. That's all. Okay? Second time we're going to read, we're going to annotate. And we're going to learn unfamiliar words. Are there any questions? Okay, so this is called The Case of the Missing Diamond by David White. No one spoke in the small hot room. They all knew each other too well. Inspector Graham questioned each person in turn, making notes on a thin white pad. The man in the striped trousers shifted his chair, gripping his briefcase tightly. The teenage boy in the blue blazer leaned against the bookcase, trying to look bored. The woman in the red dress stood up and stretched, realizing she was being watched. She sat back down quickly and wrapped her hands around her purse. When she was sure no one was looking, she opened the purse. She looked inside, smiled, and snapped the purse shut. The man seated on the couch wiped his sweaty hands on his handkerchief. He tapped his hearing aid in response to a question from the inspector. When the question was repeated more loudly, he nodded his head. His wife was sitting straight up at the end of the couch. She stared at the wall and barely responded to the inspector's questions. Her heavy earrings jingled over her knees. The antique clock struck 2. Everyone jumped. The silence returned. It is all clear to me now, the inspector said loudly. Mrs. Page Diamond has been missing for 18 hours. You have all remained here in this house. One of you has the diamond right now. The inspector looked quickly at one another, then looked at the inspector. The teen was the first to speak. Well, when can I get out of here? He said loudly and putting his hands in the back of his pocket. I have a date tonight. The woman in the red dress turned pale. You don't think it's me, do you? She said softly. Her hands were pale as she clutched her purse. The man in the striped trousers stood up angrily. You're mad, Graham, he said. I'm leaving. This is an outrage, the woman on the couch said, standing up suddenly. Her left earring fell off and hit the floor, shattering into a dozen pieces. The room was suddenly abuzz. Good thing it's a fake, Inspector Graham whispered. It's not a fake, the man of the couch roared. We paid good money for those earrings. So, the inspector said with a smile, you don't need the hearing aid after all. In fact, the missing diamond is about that size. Okay, right now, on top of your sheet, write down what you think the gist is. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Go. What do you think the gist of the story is? You have 1 minute. Are you ready? Elias, you ready? Okay, so we're going to stop here. All right, Elias, what do you think the story is about? Do you need time to think? All right, Geraldine, what do you think the story is about?
I said the gist of the story is that a piece of diamond is missing and people trying to figure out who has it.
Okay, good. Michelle, what do you think it is?
The gist is about a missing diamond and that they think, I don't know how to say the name.
Inspector Graham?
Yeah, stole it.
Okay. What do you think, Elias? Okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. So let me explain something. Inspector Graham, an inspector is like a detective. He's trying to find out who has it. Okay?
I thought that was a girl name.
Okay, no. Inspector Graham. So you might want to fix your gist. So he's the inspector that's trying to figure out the detective. Elias, are you ready? Go ahead, share with me. Just try your best.
There are people in a hot and small room, and they missing a diamond.
Excellent, that was great. They're missing a diamond, right. So this time we're going to read it, and we're going to take notes. And if you notice, in the next page, there's a little chart. So, because it gets confusing with all the people, so after we take notes, you're going to fill this out together, okay? So we're going to start. So we're going to start with paragraph 1. This is The Case of the Missing Diamond by David White. And I want you to pay attention to see the dialogue, the conversation between everyone. Dialogue is having a conversation between 2 people or a group of people, okay? So, and who did it? Who did it? No one spoke in the small, hot room. They all knew each other too well. Inspector Graham questioned each person in turn, making notes on a thin white pad. Paragraph 4. The man in the striped trousers shifted his chair. So I'm going to underline the man in the striped trousers because that's one of the people that are there. He could have stolen the diamond. Okay, so he has striped trousers. Does anybody know what trousers are?
Pants.
Pants. So circle trousers and put pants. So he gripped it, gripping his briefcase tightly. Circle the word gripping. So what do you think gripping means?
Like holding it.
Yes, holding tightly. So it says tightly. The teenage boy in the blue blazer leaned against the bookshelf trying to look bored. Is there anything else we should underline here?
The teenage boy.
Yes, and he's a teenage boy with a blue blazer, so underline that. The woman in the red dress stood up and stretched. Underline woman in red dress. Realized she was being watched. She sat back down quickly and wrapped her arms around her purse. So what is she doing?
She wrapped her arm around her purse.
So underline that. They all look like they're guilty, right? When she was sure no one was looking, she opened the purse. She looked inside and smiled and snapped the purse shut.
She has it.
Oh, we'll see. The man seated on the couch wiped his sweaty hands on their handkerchief. So we're going to underline man. And where is he seated? On the couch.
On the couch.
Yeah, so underline that. And he has sweaty hands. Underline sweaty hands. He tapped his hearing aid in response to the question from the inspector. Do you know what a hearing aid is?
When you can hear, they're like so like.
And yes, why do people wear hearing aids? What's the point? What's the purpose? Kushal, can you tell me why?
Because you can't hear, so you have problem hearing, so they put that on your ears to hear properly.
Yeah, that helps you to hear better, a hearing aid. So supposedly he doesn't hear well. This is the man on the couch. When the question was repeated more loudly, he nodded his head. His wife, underlying down, his wife was sitting straight at the end of the couch. She stared at the wall and barely responded to the inspector's questions. Her heavy earrings jingled over her knees. Jingle, like making noise. The antique clock struck 2. Everyone jumped. The silence returned. Underline circle antique, and it's something that's valuable. Something old and old, yes. Valuable and old. Miss Page Page, the diamond has been missing for 18 hours. So underline Miss Page's diamond. So who does the diamond belong to?
Miss Page.
Paige, right. So she has her, someone stole her diamond. You all have remained here in this house. One of you has the diamond right now. The suspect looked quickly at one another, then at the inspector. The teen was first to speak. When can I get out of here, he said, loudly, putting his hands back in his pocket. I have a date tonight. The woman in the red dress turned pale. You don't think it's me, do you? She said softly. Her hands were pale as she clutched. Circle the word clutch. And what do you think clutch means?
As she like
Holding tightly. So you could put, circle the word clutch and put tightly. So she's holding her purse tightly. God bless you.
Thank you.
The man in the striped trousers stood up angrily. You're mad, Graham, he said. I'm leaving. This is an outrage, the woman on the couch said, standing. Suddenly, her left earring fell on the floor, fell off and hit the floor, shattering into a dozen pieces. So this big earring she had, it fell on the floor. Shattering is that it became little pieces. You ever seen that? Like glass breaks and it shatters all over? That's how earrings. And look what the inspector says. So everybody, the room is quiet, right? The room was suddenly abuzz. So he left her earring off, hit the floor, shattering into a dozen pieces. The room was suddenly abuzz. What do you think a buzz means? When it's not suddenly. So it's quiet, right? And then all of a sudden something happens. What happens to it? How do people react to it?
scared.
Scared, or what do they start doing?
They look at each other.
They look at each other and they start talking to each other, right? So buzz is like people talking, right? Good thing it's a fake, Inspector Graham whispered. He said it quietly, right? It's not a fake, the man on the couch roared. We paid good money for those earrings. And now, this is the kicker, guys. So, the inspector said with a smile, you don't need a hearing aid, after all. In fact, the missing diamond is about that size. So, who do you think? Who stole the diamond?
Girl.
Not the girl. No. Look what it says at the end. Paragraph 39. So, the earring falls off, right? And it shatters. So remember, the man has a hearing aid, so he can't hear very well, right? So he whispered, the inspector goes, good thing it's a fake. If you have a hearing aid, can you hear that? No, but the man who has a hearing aid said, he said, it's not a fake, the man on the couch roared. We paid good money for that. And now look what the inspector said. So, the inspector said with a smile, you don't need a hearing aid. After all, yep. In fact, the missing diamond is about that size of the hearing aid. So did he really need a hearing aid?
No.
No. The hearing aid, in fact, the hearing aid was the diamond. So he really didn't need the hearing aid. He was pretending to be deaf. And in reality, the diamond was in his ear. So who stole the diamond?
The man.
The man. Which man? The man. Very good, Elias. The man on the couch. Good. So now what I need you to do, since Ashani got here late, I need you guys to help her. You're gonna fill out the chart. If you need to rip off the page so you can write down your notes, do that now. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to work on it. You may begin. Are there any questions? Is there something you don't understand about the story? Does everybody understand who stole the diamond?
Yeah.
Elias, who stole the diamond? The man on the couch. Good. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to fill it out. You may begin.
No more work together. So we finish fast. No more work together to finish fast.
You guys can work together. Let me read what. Okay, I'm going to read it to you. Right? So. This is a case, if someone has a diamond, okay? So I'm going to tell you what to underline so that you understand. No one spoke in a small hot room. They all knew each other too well. The Inspector Graham questioned each person in turn, making notes in a thin white pad. Do you know what an inspector is? He's a detective. So that's a word for it. So circle inspector and put detective. Yes.
I was like, what I heard, and then like the evidence.
So the man in the striped trousers shifted his chair, gripping his briefcase. So underlying the man in the striped trousers. Yes.
You see how, sorry, you see
Okay.
how you say, what did I learn about this character? So should I know what I learned about this character, or should I give like the evidence?
Evidence. What you learn is that there's one, like for example, you know that there's a man, and what do you know? What did you learn? That he's sitting on the couch. Okay?
So like that?
Yeah, just information that's going to help you when you do your summary, or if you choose to do the comic strip. This is going to help you. So you're basically taking notes. You can put evidence. Whatever you feel comfortable, that's going to help you to complete the task at the end.
Alright.
Okay? Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So you underline the man in the striped trousers. Okay, so he's gripping his briefcase tightly. The teenage boy in the blue blazer, underline that part. Teenage boy in the blue blazer leaned against the bookshelf, trying to look bored. The woman in the red dress stood up and stretched. Underline red dress. Realizing she was being watched, she sat back down quickly and wrapped her hands around the purse. When she was sure no one was looking, she opened the purse. She looked inside, smiled, and snapped the purse shut. The man seated on the couch wiped his sweaty hands off the handkerchief. So we're underlining. Good job. You're underlining the man on the couch. Good. He tapped a hearing aid in response to questions from the inspector. The question was repeated more loudly. He nodded his head. His wife was sitting straight up at the end of the couch. Underline that part. So the man on the couch, Shani, he supposedly has a hearing aid. You know what a hearing aid is? Mm-hmm. What is it?
What's on computer?
Right, so they good. They need a hearing aid. She stared at the wall and barely responded to the inspector's questions. Her heavy earrings jingled over her knees. You ever seen when you wear those big earrings and it makes a lot of noise? That's what it is. The antique clock struck 2. Everybody jumped. The silence returned. Antique clock, circle antique, and it's old and valuable. No. It is so clear to me now, the inspector said loudly. Miss Page, underline Miss Page, because she's the one that has the diamond missing. You have all remained here in the house. One of you has the diamond right now. The suspect looked quickly at the one another, then back at the inspector. The teenager was the first one to speak. When can I get out of here? He said loudly, putting his hands back in his pocket. I have a date tonight. The woman in the red dress turned pale. Angrily, you're mad, Graham, he said. I'm leaving. This is an outrage, the woman on the couch said, standing suddenly. Right. So her left earring fell off and hit the floor, shattering into a dozen pieces. The room was suddenly a buzz. Good thing it's a fake, Inspector Graham whispered. It's not a fake, the man on the couch roared. Now, the man on the couch supposedly has a hearing aid. And he whispered, good thing it's a fake. But he heard him and said, it's not a fake, we paid a lot of money. So does he really need that hearing aid? No, so let's find out what that hearing aid is. We paid good money for those earrings. So the inspector said with a smile, you don't need the hearing aid after all. In fact, the missing diamond is about that size. So what was really the hearing aid?
The diamond.
The diamond. So who stole the diamond?
The man in the car.
Excellent. So now take this. How are you feeling? Want me to it? So you have 4 minutes. You don't have to write a lot of information. Just write 1 or 2 sentences for it. Okay? Or one sentence.
Just writing evidence.
Okay, that's fine. Do you have a pen or a pencil? You don't need a pen or a pencil.
much time we have?
You have 3 minutes. You're welcome. Mute. Tell me when you're done so I can go over a couple of things. You finished it? Do you know who stole the diamond? Okay, so let's just go over a couple of things. So go to paragraph 4, and I'm gonna underline all the characters. There's a lot of characters in this story, so it's a little confusing. So in paragraph 4, the man in the striped trousers, underline that part. So he's one of the characters. Inspector Graham. You know what an inspector is? What is he? He's another word for detective or police officer. Okay? The woman in the red dress, underline that. In paragraph 6. In paragraph 10, the man seated on the couch. And something very interesting about him, that he's supposedly deaf. He has a hearing aid. You know what a hearing aid is? What's a hearing aid? It's a device that they put in your ear so to make you hear better. So put a hearing aid, underline hearing aid. And then he has a wife. Underline his wife was sitting straight up. Okay? And Miss Page, underline Miss Page. She's the one that's missing her diamond. Okay? So those are the main characters. So let's go over another part. So the man, there's a husband and wife. The man on the couch has a hearing aid, and the woman is sitting on the couch, right?
Right.
Right. Right. Right. Good job looking at the picture. Now look what happens. The man in the striped trousers stood up angrily. Okay. I'm gonna give you. Who needs more time?
Me.
Okay. I'm gonna give you 3 more minutes as I work with Josue. Okay.
Alright.
Okay. The man in the striped trousers stood up angrily. "You're mad, Graham," he said. "I'm leaving. This is outrageous." The woman on the couch sat standing up suddenly. Her left earring fell off and hit the floor. It shattered. So she had one of these big earrings. You ever had a glass fall on the floor and all the pieces shattered? So, all the pieces shattered, right? And everybody's talking and everybody's surprised and, you know. So, now, the man on the couch has a hearing aid. The inspector says, in a low voice, "Good thing it's a fake," he said, right? And the man said, "It's not a fake." The man on the couch roared, "We paid good money for those earrings." So the inspector said with a smile, "You don't need a hearing aid after all. In fact, the missing diamond is about that size." So did he really need a hearing aid? So what was the hearing aid? The diamond. So who stole the diamond? Josue. Excellent, the man on the couch. So you can take this out and start writing your notes right here. Alright, so, okay, stop right now. So let's fill this chart out together, okay? Josue needs a little information. So let's start with Inspector Graham. What did we write about Inspector Graham?
I hope evidence.
Okay, so read to me.
I said, Inspector Graham questioned each person in turn, making note to his thin white pad.
Okay, so what can we say to make it shorter than that? That's excellent, Geraldine. So Inspector Graham is what? What's his job? Ask questions. Why?
Because he's a detective. His
Right.
job is to find out who stole the diamond.
Write that down. Inspector Graham's job is to find out who stole the missing diamond. Okay, what do we have for the next one? Ashani, what do you have for the man in the striped trousers? You know, right? Can someone help her? Okay. What do you have, Gerald? Kushal, what do you have?
I don't know if the man in the staff shift his share gripping his birthday tightly.
Okay, he was holding his briefcase tightly. You can write that down. Holding his briefcase tightly. Excellent. Okay. Third one. Elias, can you help us? The teenage boy? You don't have it? Okay, Geraldine, go ahead.
I said, the teenage boy was the first one to speak.
All right, go
When
ahead.
are we going to get out of here?
Okay, excellent. So you can write down first one to speak. Remember he said, I have a date tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. And the woman in the red dress, what do we know about her?
So, I realized she was being washed.
Excellent. She was being watched. Write that down. So write down the woman in the red dress was being watched. Alright, next one.
I said, so the inspector said with a smile, you don't need a hearing aid
Yes.
after all.
So the man on the couch doesn't need a hearing aid. And in fact, what do we know about him?
I stole the diamond.
He stole the diamond. So write that down. He stole the diamond. Excellent. And the wife on the couch, what do we know about that? Yep, her earring fell. And Miss Page, Elias, what do we know about Miss Page? Who is she? Why is she so important in the story? She's the only one with a name.
She was trying to look for the thing.
No, look. Yes. Say that again.
She was trying to look for the thing.
Whose diamond does it belong to?
Miss Page.
Miss Page. So it's her diamond. Good job. All right. Excellent. So we're going to stop now here. You'll have time to okay. So now look at the next page. There's two tasks. Now you're wondering, what does a comic strip have to do with summarizing? So you have two choices. The first task is to look at the first task is a comic strip, and in the comic strip you still have to write, you're going to write the summary. Now underneath the comic strip and the objective summary, I want you to put down, I want you to write down some information, so you're going to take some notes. So the first thing, when you write a summary, and why a summary, when you say a summary or orally, you know how, for example, you go to a party and Ashani will tell Geraldine, oh, you went to the party, Geraldine, tell me, how did it go? You're going to summarize the party. You go to the movies, you're going to tell them about the movie, right? So in order to write a summary or to say one, it's important that you tell the story shortly, briefly. Briefly means short. You don't have to give every detail because it gets boring, right? Just the most important details. And you make sure that you talk about the setting. So write down, you want to write down, when you talk about a summary, you want to make sure you have a setting. Setting is what? The place and time where the story took place, right? You want to make sure you have the main characters. Now in this story, we have a lot of characters.
But the main one is the inspector and Mr. Page.
Very good. And then the conflict. What is conflict?
The problem.
The problem. So another word for conflict is problem. And what is the conflict in this story?
They stole the diamond.
The missing diamond. Somebody stole the diamond. Good. So we're going to write that. And then the important events. Anything else that you want to add to this? So if you choose to do the comic strip, if you choose to write the summary, those are the important details that you need. You need to know what the setting is, the main characters, the problem, or the conflict in the story, or any other events. Another event would be the fact that we found out who stole the diamond. You want to add that to it. So what I want you to do is, I want you to tell me which one you're going to choose to do, and I'll give you time to work on that. Alright? So, So you're going to write a summary, and a summary is very important because when you're able to briefly retell the story, talk about the characters, the setting, the conflict, that is another way to help you understand the story better. So a lot of times when I'm testing to see what level you guys are, I always have you read a story. Okay, tell me a little bit about the story. If you're able to retell me the story and give me the important details, I understand. You understand what you read the story. It's important to understand that. So that's why summaries are important. So if you read a story and you can't identify the main characters, the setting, the conflict, maybe that's the reason you're not understanding the story, okay? And also dialogue. When you have a conversation between the characters, right? So at the last paragraph, right? Inspector Graham says he whispers, and the man goes crazy, right? He goes, I paid a lot of money for those earrings. Wait a minute, but I whispered. You're not supposed to hear me. And the Inspector Graham put 2 and 2 together. So you don't need the hearing aid. In fact, the hearing aid is the size of the diamond. So that dialogue, that conversation is very important to the story. Why? Why is that important to the story?
Because they found out.
They found out what, Michelle?
He stole the diamond.
He stole the diamond, and it's important. So a conversation is important just as you watch TV. You ever watch a show that's really good and your mother calls you and you miss the most important part of the story?
Yes.
And you're like, oh, what did she say? What happened? So to be able to analyze the events in the story and the dialogue of the story, it makes you understand better the story, okay? So it makes you understand the plot, what's going on, the conflict. It makes you understand the setting. Are there any questions at this point? All right, so how many people are going to do the comic strip? Okay, how many people are going to do the summary? All right, so you have paper in here to write the summary. I'm sorry that I didn't give you line paper. So, when you write your summary, what are the important things you need to tell me in the summary?
The setting, character, problem, or anything else that you want to add.
Excellent. Anyone else doing the comic strip? Everybody's doing the summary?
Yeah.
Okay, you may begin. I'm going to give you 15 minutes, and if you don't get to finish it today, I'll give you time tomorrow to finish it because I want to give you time for the exercise. Monday, yes, right. So are we okay with 15 minutes? You're going to write a brief. What does brief mean?
Short.
Short. That means, are you going to give me every detail in the story? No, you're just going to give me the most important details. Okay, you have 15 minutes. You may begin. It's a house. You could say a mansion or a house. They don't give you that detail. Well, look what it says at the time. Look, the antique clock struck what? 2. So it's what? Morning, night, or afternoon? Afternoon. Okay. I actually have loose leaf paper. It's here. I apologize. I'm ready. Yeah, you can write it in. That's not a problem. Sorry. If you need help, raise your hand and I'll attempt to walk through past and help you. working on paper still? You need a pencil or a pen?
I don't want to use a pencil.
I'll use a pen.
I don't have a pen. You want to use another pencil?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's pencils in here. Pass me a pencil, please. Thank you. That's okay. So you're writing a lot, it's okay. That's all right. Oh, she's just writing big.
This is the answer slip.
No, the slip is questions.
This is the task.
This is the task, yeah. Remember, you're writing a brief summary. You're not writing every detail. You're giving me the most important details, right? So you make sure you have your setting, the main characters in the story, the conflict, and any important events. Are you done? Want to read it? Look at it? take the exit step. If there's a word you don't understand, let me know. You done? Let me read what you have. Today is the 7th. The 8th? Okay, today's the 8th. Sit down. You take your exit step. You guys still have 6 minutes with the summary, okay? Here's the extra step.